And we start with what is perpetually a hot potato topic in Nigeria, politics. And towards the end of last year, the leader of the obedient movement, Mr. Peter Obi, gave us a New Year gift, if you like, or an end-of-year gift with a defection from the Labour Party to the African Democratic Congress. And he didn't move alone. He moved with quite a number of other leaders of the party and other supporters of the party. And of course, that has caused a ripple effect on what this means for 2027. Now, one of the leaders of the Labour Party at the time that moved with him joins us today on the program. He is the senator representing Anambra Central Senatorial District. And let me add this one, former national chairman of the All Progressives Grand Alliance. Senator Victor Umeh joins us on the program. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us on the Morning Brief.
Thank you very much, Bukola and Jeff. Happy New Year to you, and indeed, Happy New Year to all Nigerians. Thank you for having me this morning. Indeed, Happy New Year to you, sir. Now, let me start this way. One would have thought that a day like this would never come, and I'm saying this for good reason. I'd like to walk back very quickly down memory lane to about I think 12 or 13 years ago, when you were national chairman of the All Progressives Grand Alliance. You seemed to be at loggerheads at the time with Mr. Peter Obi. But today, the story has changed. It didn't just change now. You know, from the time that you joined the Labour Party to secure a ticket and you returned to the Senate. So it seems as if your interests have now sort of realigned with Mr. Peter Obi, who, of course, by the way, has been criticized for leaving APGA, for also leaving the Labour Party, for leaving the PDP, and now he has left the Labour Party for the ADC. And many are saying that, you know, this is, you know, a pattern that shows a sort of inconsistency that is contrary to what he stands, you know, for and believes as a politician. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, thank you very much. I want to say that politics is a very dynamic process, and relationships that you build in a political system may endure for a long time because we are all human. Along the line, we may not be able to see things the same way. Over certain issues, there will be bound to be some disagreement on issues, and over time, people will have to reflect over things that have created differences between them. They will be able to come to terms that alternative actions ought to have been taken at very critical moments, and therefore, it is also the strength of a good politician to be able to come back together over time when the issues change and alignment and realignment become necessary. So movements are bound to happen, and many things will lead to that. On the present state of affairs, you would know that from the reference you made, I was not in the same political camp with Mr. Peter Obi for nearly 10 years. It wasn't as if we have very deep-seated personal problems. Peter Obi is my brother, and his political journey started with me in 2001. And together, we were able to go through the murky waters of politics, got him elected to become governor of Anambra State through the APGA that I was a co-founder and serious stakeholder. In 2003, we had to go through litigations till 2006 before he became governor. And again, there were challenges between that time. He was impeached and he returned. We supported him and was able to get re-elected for a second term together. And, you know, in politics, like it happens in every climb, once somebody emerges a leader with power, executive power, people who are not involved in the process will come around and try to create confusion between those who really worked for that power to be achieved. And along the line, there will be distortions. Sometimes we disagree on policies. So it's normal, because we are human, we reflect over these things and try to bury the hatchets. In 2022, we came back together on his invitation that I should join him in the Labour Party. At that time, I was done with ABGA, because the people in charge of ABGA that I built over time blocked me from getting the ticket to go to the Senate. And Mr. Peter Umeh had to call me, because he knew there was nothing personal between two of us, and asked me to join him in Labour Party to be part of the new movement. I reflected over it, and he convinced me to join. I joined him. And ever since then, of course, we have become better than we were in 2001, and we're working together towards the same purpose. So in terms of what you said, people are criticizing, moving from one party to the other. In politics, people will want to pursue their dreams. Umeh was governor for 8 years with ABGA. He did exceedingly well. And at the end of his tenure, maybe he had his eyes on national politics. You know, ABGA has remained, as it is up to today, a one-state party in terms of influence, Anambra State. We did it to be so, myself and Mr. Peter Umeh. So he had interest in national politics, and it was very close to then President Goodluck Jonathan. So I had to move to support Jonathan for presidency. And it was the right thing to do, to go over there, instead of staying in ABGA and be talking about another political party like some people do today. So he went to PDP to support President Goodluck Jonathan for a second term. And he has remained there until 2022, when for some reason disagreement in the policies of the PDP in terms of zoning of the presidency, had to leave when he felt that the situation there was not justifiable. He had to go to Labour Party, and from there he called people like us to come and join. This movement that we have made to the ADC on 31st of December is completely as a child of necessity. One was to ensure that Nigeria does not drift into a one-party state. And secondly, the Labour Party, where all of us operated, had been hijacked. And the leadership of the Labour Party had become an enemy of the party itself. So to continue in a party where somebody outside is pulling the strings became very unbearable. We tried to resist that. We tried to create a caretaker, particularly when their tenure has elapsed due to a fluctuation of time. And instead of giving way, they tried to put themselves on the party. That disagreement brought the opponents of the party behind the Julius Abure, to become chairman against the will of the party, against even INEC decision that his tenure has lapsed. So the matter had to go to court. We put a caretaker committee, which INEC did not deal with. And along the line, the court of the land, the highest court of the land, the Supreme Court, ordered that INEC should stop dealing with Abure as its national chairman of the Labour Party. But INEC was prefabricating, because he had Abure has run to powerful people to sustain him against the interests of the rightful spectrum of the party members, because the target was to stop Peter Umeh from flying the ticket of the Labour Party. So Peter Umeh, we tried to cure the defect in the party, set up a caretaker committee. INEC didn't want to deal with them. Even with the Supreme Court judgment of 4th of April 2025, ordering INEC not to deal with Abure. Abure went and, I don't know how to describe what he did. He went to hang himself around those who can sustain him
with influence and authority and power. Right. So from there, somebody the Supreme Court had said should not be... No, let me just end this thing with 1 minute. Somebody the Supreme Court has said should not be recognized as leader of Labour Party got sustained by INEC. The Devaju continued till when we came together and decided that there was no point staying there anymore. One, for myself, I never recognized Abure as chairman of Labour Party from the beginning when his tenure elapsed and he refused to do the rightful thing. And then when the Supreme Court gave the judgment on 4th of April, he continued. I'm a lawful person, and I know the weight of a Supreme Court pronouncement, so I decided not to have anything to do with them. So from that time till the day we left, I had nothing to do with Labour Party officially. So now, yes. To show you why the movement became necessary, immediately Peter Obi left Labour Party on the 31st of December 2025. INEC has now somersaulted again and reverted to a situation where they now said Abure's tenure had expired. So they're no longer dealing with him again.
Let me come in here so that we'll make the most of the time, yes. If I will. So there are so many things you've said, and I'm sure INEC has a lot of questions to answer as to, for instance, I think they have accepted the list from the Abure group for Ekiti and Osun. We don't know why they are not accepting for the FCT Council. So they need some clarification as well as far as their positioning is concerned. There's also the argument that the Supreme Court did not expressly oust Abure, according to the Abure group. They say it was just an admonition and obiter from the Supreme Court saying, look, internal party issues should stay internal, but just advised that if your tenure has ended, why are you still staying there? So that argument continues. But let's build on what we have right now. I had a conversation with Dele Momodu on, not Dele Momodu, I beg your pardon, Professor Patu told me, who said that because I did ask him about what's playing out in the ADC, or likely to play out in the ADC. I asked him, I said, look, what happens now that it looks like everybody's in this camp and, you know, they're hardliners and all that? He said, look, if Peter Obi chooses to become vice presidential candidate to anybody, that's his end with Peter Obi, in principle. Well, Mr. Dele Momodu responded, his headlines were the naivety of the intelligentsia and privilegentia. Those are his words. And there was another time, I'm trying to get to his page now, where he talked about, yes, I've seen it, my candid advice to ADC, avoid another weak case scenario. All of this he was trying to say is that now the honeymoon is over, the forming stage, now interests are beginning to clash, everybody's trying to position and hardline and push their agenda. Are you concerned that, because now you've moved with former presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, are you confident that with the kind of politics that the people we know in that party can play, Peter Obi can survive that onslaught? Because he's tried it before, he couldn't face it, and he had to leave the party to the Labour Party. Do you think he can get the ticket of the ADC, to be very fair?
Well, a lot has happened over time. And before I go there, let me also correct the impression that only members of the Labour Party moved with Peter Obi to the ADC. The Southeast political leaders of various political affiliations came together to look at the situation and decided to move to the ADC. We have Senator Baribe from Abga. He moved with us. We have Meki Hedioha and Achiku Denwa, Senator Sam Egu, all of them were of the PDP, Onyemoge Chukwu of the PDP. So all the active political players in the PDP in the Southeast decided to come together with all other people to move to ADC. So it wasn't just a section of Labour Party going to the ADC. All of us are from different political parties. So having said that, on the issue of whether Peter Obi stands a chance to become the presidential candidate of ADC instead of becoming vice presidential candidate, I will tell you that such question does not arise because it is for those who are saying that it's only a particular person that can become the presidential candidate of ADC.
that are the people that should be questioned. In a democracy, what you should be thinking about is what the people want, what will make ADC succeed in that election, not who wants to fly its ticket. Somebody may be in a position to get the ticket and fail the election for many other extraneous reasons. So if ADC is going into this election with the coalition of forces that have come into it to bring the party into place, what they should be talking about will be how do we defeat the ruling party, which is a very strong behemoth now in Nigeria, a party that has 30 governors already defected to its fold. The National Assembly has almost been depleted to, the opposition parties have been depleted to almost nothing. Everybody has moved to the APC. And you formed a coalition of political parties and other forces to go and challenge this party. What you should be looking at will be, what will you do to capitalize on the missteps of the ruling party that is large in size, in resources and everything? I don't think it's a venture you will go to without looking at those who want to fly your flag as presidential candidates. It's not just to get the ticket. Are you going to win the election? Are the Nigerian public going to follow you? Are the situations on ground favor you? Or the sentiments, even though people will say there is no sentiment in politics, but Nigerians are wise enough to make decisions that are very proper, in line with the prevailing circumstances. So I don't believe that somebody cannot be defeated in a primary or in any process. So it's left for the party, this ADC, to find a way to strategize and come up with a candidate that can stand this election and win it. Somebody who the Nigerian public will accept as a candidate to be a very credible alternative to the ruling party. If you are not able to do a self-search inside the ADC to find somebody who the Nigerian public will follow, Nigerian public will trust, Nigerian public will believe, and support the person to be a candidate, then you are not in the election. Because it's either you obey the citizens in their quest and search for a credible alternative to the ruling party, or you don't go to the election at all. It's not about bringing people together and then you make noise and suddenly you lose your senses to take a flight of view, and then you go and present a candidate that the Nigerian public will not trust, they will not believe, they will not vote for. Then you go and say APC must go. APC must not go unless you have a candidate that the Nigerian people can follow.
If I may come in to quickly follow up on what you're saying, I wonder if I catch your drift. If I do, you are subtly canvassing support for Mr. Peter Obi, who, by the way, has said with certainty that he will be on the ballot in 2027. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, another party bigwig in the ADC, now that's a traditional runner for the office of the president, is Mr. Atiku Abubakar, who says no aspirant will step down for the other during the primaries. Now, I've also asked Mr. Peter Obi's aide, that will be Alhaji Tanko, who says that if Mr. Peter Obi doesn't win the primary ticket ahead of 2027, that he will abide by party rules. So what's the game plan in all of this if we're hearing this seeming, I don't want to call it discordant tunes, but tunes that do not necessarily agree? So what's the game plan if Mr. Peter Obi does not win the presidential primary ticket for the ADC in 2027? Is he going to defect yet again?
Well, I think you came to the conclusion by yourself that I was making a case for Mr. Peter Obi. I was only laying out the conditions and the situations that will have to prevail if ADC wants to win the election. If by the criteria I have set out, you think that they fit Mr. Peter Obi, then so be it. But I want to tell you that in politics, you don't joke. And there are things you don't even say. Because what should be driving what you say will be what will make that your party to succeed. In ADC today, we have so many strong politicians and gladiators operating inside it. You have Nasir El-Rufai, you have Rotimi Amechi, you have Atiku Abubakar, you have Peter Obi. All these people are known to Nigerians over time. And if I tell you about winning an election, I think winning an election is the only thing that will make a party succeed and survive. If you don't do your calculations well, and you hope to go and defeat the ruling party have given you its strength, you'll be wasting your time. And we have to listen to the people. So I won't step down, or this person will not be here, this one will not be the language. I think that what will happen is that the ADC should set up a strategic team that will be able to call everybody together, irrespective of what you are looking for. You have to go into a room and lock yourselves up and decide whether we are going to challenge APC. If we are going to challenge APC in this coming election, who has the chance to win the election in accordance with public acceptance and opinion? If you do it critically, dispassionately, and you're able to come with one candidate that can do it, then you go out and match the APC strength for strength, because the people remain the strength, the voters, not the number of governors you have. But if the FDC makes a tragic error of not paying attention on how they can take steps to win the election against the APC, it will be a conglomeration of people that have no mission. And having said this, I'll tell you that ADC has a chance to follow different options in arriving at their candidates. One, they can do a consensus building. When consensus fails, now you go to the issue of a primary for voting. For APC to win this election, for ADC to win this election, the best option for them is to go in and lock themselves and attempt a consensus first. If they're able to achieve it, which is possible, but it's possible that within the time allowed, still available, everybody will be discussed with, people will come to terms with reality, and egos will be massaged here and there, and you put the mission ahead of you. What is the mission? The mission is, how can the ADC defeat the APC? If they cannot answer that question, and they go their different ways and drag everybody into the field to fight for who has the biggest money to spend, to buy delegates, and they match the candidate of the party.
So
when that happens,
if your proposal were to be followed,
a stronger position.
If your proposal were to be adopted in the ADC, which aspirant would you be supporting?
Me?
Yes, you.
Of course, there will be consultation. I'm like every other Nigerian. I see what is happening in Nigeria. You, Bukola, you are in Nigeria. As soon as I finished what I was saying, you said I'm supporting Mr. Peter Obi. That is their own conclusion. Maybe because of the criteria I laid out. And that criteria that I laid out, the major component of it is the ability of whoever APC presents to be accepted by the Nigerian voters. The voters are the deciders of this, not actually the party. If the party is not able to put a candidate the voters will accept, they have lost the election. So that is what will make everybody to come in with level-headedness and dispassionate assessment of the situation, the task at hand. What do we do to do this? What do we do to win? If you answer that correctly and in affirmative, then you stand a chance of coming out to campaign. If you're not able to do that, like what they did in 2023, issue of who becomes the candidate, destroyed the PDP. You have seen it. And those who could not agree, for some reason that power should rotate between North and South, said they are fighting Even Wike said so, that he didn't accept that somebody from the north should be presidential candidate of PDP at that time, because Buhari had been there for 8 years. That reason he gave is justified. He can fight because of that. So some of these things will play back when you want to go to the election. It's not about what you want or your desire. There are so many things that will play in the choice of who becomes a candidate of a party that can win the election, not your personal desire.
Senator, you know,
so if we're able to do that, yes.
You know, there's a lot of tax that is required to win any election, especially the coming election.
Sure.
I remember Aminu Tambo, who I think he celebrated his birthday a few days ago. He talked about you need to win an election first before you share power. And his analogy had to do with, he did some numbers, he worked numbers from Anambra election, the entirety of the Anambra election to decide who became a governor, as to the results, as to what produced, I think, a federal constituency somewhere in the north. Now, going into this election is about numbers. For every other person, they want capacity, they want this, but the politicians look at numbers, and those are the derivatives as far as politics is concerned. So if you're looking at this, and then if we say the issue of North and South, which is also a big issue, some people are saying the ADC should zone.
Yes.
Some people are saying don't zone, because that is going to affect and cause more trouble, like the trouble they are trying to get out of. But they will say, oh, Atiku came in with 6.9, Peter Obi came in with 6.1. How should this be managed effectively? Because egos will be brushed at the end of the day. Bola Tinubu is not sleeping. He wants to win re-election. And he's working at it with 28 governors, 76, 77 senators, over 260 lawmakers. We can go on and on. So what should be the deal breaker and what should be consolidated on?
Yes, thank you very much. These numbers were bandied in 2023. I was involved in a negotiation with the NNPP, and the people who represented NNPP in the discussion were binding these figures. They said Obi will not get even 500,000 votes. And I told them it's not going to be so. When we go to the election, you'll see how people will respond to the election based on a number of factors. Obi, who came into the Labour Party without anybody, no structure. They said he came into the election without a structure. But they forgot that what drove Obi's presidential bid remained his message to Nigerians of all extraction, Nigerians of all extraction. And when the movement started, it became a very sweeping movement across Nigeria. People did not even remember that Obi was Igbo, or Obi is Igbo, or Obi is this and that. They fixed themselves, focused on his message. And he was able to be accepted everywhere in Nigeria, and he destabilized all political calculations. When he went into the election, he came out with a vote of 6.1 million that was declared for him. Even it was clear that he had more votes than that. In fact, that he won the election. That led INEC to declare a glitch in the presidential poll. Election that was conducted with National Assembly elections, and National Assembly results went smoothly. The presidential result had a glitch. It was that they had to stop Obi from winning the election that he had already won. So truth must be told to Nigerians. And we are back there again on this session, and people have started talking about numbers. These votes that Obi got, 6.1 million the votes that were credited to him, came from across Nigeria. That he even won in Lagos State. All the swing states, he won majority of them, you know. So that at the finishing line, despite all the distortions, Obi was able to win almost equal number of states with the two other candidates that stood with him. Before that time, people were talking about no structure. Now and again, we're at it again, and people are not averting their minds to the power of the wishes of the Nigerian people. It doesn't matter how many people are massed in one direction. What we should be considering a democracy will be what the Nigerian people want. And we achieved it in 2023. Nigeria was almost liberated in 2023, away from sectional, ethnic, religious politics with Obi's performance. And now that we are back, we are going again. And people have started talking about numbers. Yes.
And by that, Senator Umeh, you may have you didn't intend to, but you may have answered my question yet again about which aspirant you may be supporting when you talk about the performance of Mr. Peter Obi. But that leads me to my next question.
No, let me answer you.
Okay, you have about 20 seconds to answer that. But it leads me to my next question.
Yes, okay. It will be wrong for me to stay here in a coalition political party to begin to say who I want to support. When we go to that stage, we will have to use our sense, common sense, and every reason available to decide who to support. All these things I have pointed out to be placed on the table, and we'll be able to talk to ourselves truthfully. Are we going for the election, or are we just trying to do something, to satisfy our desire? If we answer it affirmatively, the candidate that will win the election will emerge. And it's by that time that we'll begin to say, this person has a better chance here, this person has a better chance here, this person, because of this, because of that, let's go this way. These are the things we'll lock ourselves in the room. And the X-ray, that is my position. And whoever emerges at that time through reasonable and pragmatic consensus building, the ADC can now go to the election.
All right. As I said, it brings me to my next question, which would be the unabashed support by leaders of the Southeast, governors to be precise now, for the current president's aspiration to return in 2027. If you go to Enugu, the governor is talking about aligning with the center, the need for the Southeast to align with the center in order to get development. Even in Anambra, your state, which is APGA, the governor is in support of Mr. President. You could talk about Imo as well. The governor is perhaps one of the most astute supporters of Mr. President. What does that do to the long-held aspiration of the Southeast to produce, a president for the country?
Thank you very much. The long aspiration of the Southeast to produce a president for the country. With that statement you have made, you can see that those who have taken a hasty decision endorsing the current president for the slot in 2027 have not taken into consideration what their people have been yearning for over the years. And I can tell you that the Southeast people are very wise people. This is not the first time people have gone a different, leaders have gone a different way. Then the masses and the voters will go a different way. It happened in 2023. If you remember, some sitting governors in 2023 lost their elections because of Mr. Peter Obi being the presidential candidate of the Labour Party. At least in Enugu, the governor ran for senatorial election and lost. In Abia, the governor then, Ikpeazu, ran for senatorial election and lost. In Cross River, Ayede lost as an incumbent governor. He ran for senatorial election. So when people come together and say, we are deciding for the people, they are making a mistake. And since that endorsement came, I've been reading the comments of a broad section of people from the Southeast. The people have been condemning their action as being hasty, because politics will be based on what you get. They ask questions, what have we got that will make you to come and tell us this is what you want us to do? Governors are 5 in number. Even all of them decide to endorse the current president, that will not guarantee victory for the current president, because the majority and the large majority of the Southeast people know what they want. And when you have a credible, free and fair election, all these people will lose deposits in their various polling booths and wards. They will struggle. So what we are saying is that people are entitled to support a candidate of their choice. Those in APC are entitled to support the candidate of their choice. Even in 2023, the governor of Ebonyi State, Engineer Umeh, who is a very strong and current supporter of Mr. President, Minister for Works and Housing, in that election, he did everything to get Ebonyi people to vote for the APC. They refused, and P2B won landslide in Ebonyi State, defying their governor. So it's going to be a repeat unless the environment or the circumstances do not present itself. Circumstance does not present itself for that action to be taken. I tell you that if the needful is done, don't bother about endorsements. Even Mr. President himself knows that those who are assuring him of votes of the Southeast cannot deliver it if the circumstances do not change, you know. So we are not losing sleep over that because we don't begrudge anybody who wants to be president, even the president that's seeking for second term. We're not begrudging him. But we have critical assessment to make about how the Southeast people have fared under his presidency. Yes, these are the questions, and you must provide answers to before you begin to think about the votes of the Southeast people.
All right, Senator.
We have so many issues that must be dealt with, yes.
As we wind down, let's talk about your place of primary responsibility, the Senate. And I want you to talk about this perception by the... You're getting close to the end of the term. I mean, 2027 is just about a few... Let's call it a year plus from now.
We still have, 18 months.
Yes, a year plus. It looks like it's long, but it's close. Let's talk about now that the ADC is forming that aggregation, and some persons within the PDP have now moved, some are still in the PDP, some have moved to the APC. Are we going to see a different kind of, let's say, Senate, for instance? Because Nigerians have constantly maintained that this 10th Senate is one of the worst in terms of rubber stamp. That's how they describe this 10th Senate. Those are not my words. I'm sure you've heard this over and over. I've had people like the Senate President, top members of the Senate that we respect, push back on this. So now the reason I suspect Nigerians are saying that is that sometimes Nigerians are expecting some pushback from the National Assembly on certain issues, whether the majority will win eventually, but at least some pushback. But it looks like everything that comes goes. So right now that this aggregation is beginning to happen, are we going to see a different kind of Senate? Or this is just for election purposes? When it comes to what plays out in the House, we are all together?
Well, this 10th National Assembly started with very peculiar situation where the president openly chose the leadership for the National Assembly. You saw it happen. Some of us who believed that the president didn't need to come openly to say who the leaders will be, you know, we were harassed both on televisions and all that, and we waited. So there was no way you would have been expecting a different situation where the Senate President, the Speaker of the House of Representatives were openly supported by the President, the Executive, the leader of the Executive. We accepted it because it happened. The votings were done and they won. So having won, we have to work with the situation we have met. And of course, you must know that it will not be the same if we had elected our leadership on our own. I'm not begrudging anybody who became what or the other in the leadership. But what has happened is that in terms of practical discharge of responsibilities by the National Assembly, we have not been able to do so because of this situation. And those of us who are from the opposition parties, I also believed that for sanity and for the good of the Nigerian people, let's support the executive arm of government so that it will put in its best. If the National Assembly is locked against the executive in battles, maybe the blame will be that we didn't allow the president to do its work. You know, we are disturbing the president. So we said, let's allow the president to work. anything he brought, we supported him so long as he says it's what he needs to drive Nigeria to the prosperity and to the new hope which he promised Nigerian people. It's in this milieu that we were tagged as rubber stamp. I said it severally on interviews. There has never been anything Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu brought to the National Assembly that we said we would hold approval, so that he will be able to take responsibility for how he has run the country, both in terms of the economy and the political arrangement. You see, so if Nigeria is not working well, I mean, the president has a lot of questions to answer. Not a question of National Assembly being a rubber stamp. He was given all the latitude, all the support he needed to govern Nigeria. No blame will be placed on the opposition and so on and so forth. And here we are. So coming back, this is we're going into the election cycle now, and it's time for us to take stock. What is happening? Are we going to build a Nigeria that will have the semblance of what happens in America, where between the Republicans and the Democrats, you have very slim margin of membership of the Congress, the Senate, and the House of Representatives? Or are we going to have the situation now where everybody has crossed over to the ruling party in the parliament? The question is, we have its answers now. If there's anything that we have that we do not accept, the Nigerian people are in a position to correct it now as we're going into the next voting. What we should credit ADC with is an attempt, if they get their acts together, to provide a very strong and virile alternative party to the ruling party. I'm a member of the minority caucus, and every day we came to work towards the end of last year, people will be reading, people will be submitting letters of defection. And when the Minister President of the Senate reads these letters, and they take over somebody from our own aisle to the other side, they mock us. We'll stay there, and every day we'll diminish in number. What we are doing is that we are diminishing the strength of democracy in Nigeria.
All right.
And now that we have come here, I believe that in the coming weeks and months, there will be more alignments, you know. By the time we come back, those in the PDP, those in the maybe NNPP that still has one member, SDP still has one member. People will begin to coalesce in terms of what you want. In the National Assembly where I work, I will tell you that the number you see there do not reflect the views of those who are there. They are also complaining the way we are complaining.
All right.
Because Nigeria is there for all of us.
We really must anchor at this point and leave it there for now. You have talked about the need for the ADC to put its house in order. And of course, the test for that has already begun with the Anambra election conducted last year. And of course, there are many more tests to come in Ekiti. You know, soon we'll see how the ADC performs. We must thank you very much for coming on the program. We've been talking with the senator representing Anambra Central Senatorial District, Senator Victor Umeh. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.